the time, because they're always making out with starlets.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. That's what happens. Hey, Fish, guess what? We are live right now, and we are covering a lot tonight. We're talking about the greatest weekend in football playoff history. We're going to talk a little baseball, some college hoops, and a look ahead to the Winter Olympics. Our guest is gold medal speed skater Dan Jansen. We'll get his perspective on Beijing, but also a look back for him to Lillehammer in 1994. We'll also hear from our man in Asia, John Williams. And one of us was perfect on our picks from last week, kind of. And we will look ahead to the bets for the NFL Conference Championships with John Hardison in the Daily Fish Hardline. Plus, we have our Schmuck of the Week and Who's Got the Swag. And Binge, Blockbuster, and Book points out two recent blockbusters, one with a sequel. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Daily Fish. John Daly here with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coming to you coast to coast from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We talk sports, entertainment, and everything in between. Fish, this is the big 4-0 for us.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right back at you, buddy. All right. Hey, let's dive into the daily grind. Here's what we're grinding on. First, legendary sports writer Peter King said last weekend's 4 playoff games were the best weekend in league history. And guess what? We agree. And we saw it coming. We actually said it last week when we were on the air here. That was what's going to happen. Fish, what stood out for you?
Well, 91 of the top 100 TV shows that were watched in 2021 were NFL football games. Yeah. And you and I have been watching this sport for 40 years. I've never seen a weekend so drama-filled, compelling, action-filled, where your adrenaline just goes to the top of your cheeks and it stays there and it drops in your heart. I always have arguments with people in my bar who have egos that tell me that the NBA and the NHL are more popular than the NFL. Okay. If last weekend was a selling point and advertising for the NFL, they have no shot in their arguments. All I could say is if you watch any of those games and didn't come out a fan or just a casual fan, then, I don't know what to tell you.
I saw regular news shows that would never cover sports. They talked about sports. They covered that. They talked about it. They showed video of it. So it's there too. And I know at some point we're going to be getting into, probably not this show, but in the baseball negotiations, but that's a great indication for baseball to look. That's why you need a salary cap, because you keep the teams competitive. All 8 of those teams could have won the Super Bowl last weekend. That's for sure.
How do you get a baseball game as compelling as the Bills and the Chiefs? What do you do? Have 7 runs each inning? I mean, it's hard, but you can't compare sports. No. I've seen NBA games I've seen NBA games that are phenomenal and come close, and NHL games that are phenomenal. Nothing like I witnessed or you witnessed with any 4 of those games, but especially with the Bills and the Chiefs to cap off the weekend's action.
It was so smart having that as the last game. You did, and there's more, So yeah, no, great stuff. All right, but the question is, Fish, can the NFL top that this weekend? And can I screw up my picks again? Fish, you were 3-1, and guess what? I was a perfect 0 for 4. Can you believe that? 0 for 4. But at the same time, too, if you had 3 different field goals and a touchdown at a different time, I could have gone 4-0. But anyway, all right, let's try to pick Super Bowl 56 participants. All right, first, the AFC Championship game is the Bengals at the Chiefs. Fish, who are you picking?
I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a 4th straight AFC Championship game that they're going to play in, and with I still can't get through my head with 13 seconds to go how the Bills screwed that up. How they kicked the ball off? You squib kick it. If you squib kick it, it's a 5 seconds to run it from maybe the 0-yard line to the 25, and Mahomes has 1 play. So I really feel for the Bills Mafia. But I'm picking the Chiefs because what Andy Reid said. When you face the Grim Reaper, be the Grim Reaper. All right? You always pick against the Chiefs. I don't know why. I got a feeling. I'm not going to say why. Well, I got a funny feeling where you're going.
Well, I think this game's going to be another Bills-Chiefs game, and I'm going Bengals. And I just, it's gut, because I think it's going to be a great game. Why do you think I'm going against the Chiefs?
Because you haven't picked the Chiefs, and I know family member. I like some of the Chiefs, and I don't know. I look. You're entitled to your opinion, But the Bengals have struggled. The Chiefs have struggled, too. But I don't know if this game is too big of a stage for Joe Burrow. Great story. Look at it this way, John. 5 of your top young quarterbacks to set the future of this league are all in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. Did I say Josh Allen? Yeah. Allen, Lamar Jackson. So, it's incredible what the future of this league looks like, and we're going to see 2 of them this weekend.
Yep, I agree. It should be a great game. Okay, the NFC Championship is a West Coast affair. 49ers at the Rams. Fish, I'm going Rams.
So am I. If Trent Williams doesn't play, the stud offensive lineman for the Niners, I just don't know. You asked me this in a text. We had a three-way text between you, me, and Hardison. Has any mediocre quarterbacks ever won a Super Bowl? And I said, yeah, Trent Dilfer with the Ravens in 2000, right? And Brad Johnson with the Buccaneers in 2002. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 131 yards against the Packers, but their defense was so dominant. Yeah. Rodgers had 9 straight possessions without scoring. Can they do that to the Rams? I don't think so. I think the Rams right now, because Stafford, who's always good for a pick or two, has played flawless in the playoffs so far. So I'm going Rams.
Okay. All right. Next, college hoops heads into the heart of the season. And who is the clear favorite? Who knows? Gonzaga is certainly in the conversation, but Auburn, they were barely mentioned, but now they're number 1. The Big East, including my 17th ranked Providence Friars, they're another great battleground. Fish, do you have a read on any teams making a run to the finish line by March and April?
Well, I'm rooting for your Friars. I go back to when Ernie DiGregorio played for the Friars. Before I even knew you, I was a Providence fan. Oh, my God, the Big East was Seton Hall and P.J. Carlissimo and Luke Honeyseca with St. John's, and you had John Syracuse, Thompson with Georgetown. Syracuse at Boeheim. That was an elite conference back then. I'm keeping an eye on this could be a huge thing to watch right now. UCLA, which made the Final Four last year, is playing great ball. But look across the city there. USC is playing terrific right now. I think they're ranked 15th. Look for those two teams to make a run in the tournament. I still look at Duke. Duke is 14 or 15-3. Yep. Kentucky, you're gonna have your nasty, your teams that are always in it going for it. But I'm rooting for the Providence, and not because I don't like you, but just because I want Providence to get in there. And it'll make you happy, and you smile a little bit. But keep an eye on those Pac-10, those Pac-12 rivals right there making a run.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you kind of look like the Friar mascot too. So I think that's another reason why you do it. Yeah. Also, we're going to talk some more college hoops on the hard line with John Hardison in a few minutes. And finally on the grind, let's go to Japan to talk Olympics and baseball with our Pacific Rim correspondent, John Williams. John boy, welcome back. So we wonder.
Hey, good morning.
We wonder if it's morning for you there. That's true. The Olympics, are they going to be big here in the U.S. because the Super Bowl's on at the same time too? We have the time difference that could actually hurt viewers. So let me ask you this. How about over there? Is Asia excited about the Beijing Olympics?
You would think it would be a little bit better. We don't have any time line, right? It's like in Japan, we're at an hour difference. But yesterday there was an article in the newspaper, and they said Mainichi newspaper had it that 60% of the Japanese people are not interested at all in the Olympics, and then they only had like 17% were very excited about the event coming on. So maybe it was also it's because it's so close to Tokyo. I guess long ago, remember we used to have the Olympics in the same year, the winter and the summer together. But I guess the winter was always first. And I think after the summer, and maybe it's just not the same. It just doesn't have the same pop. Before it was like we've had this 4-year drought with having the Olympics, so the Winter Olympics still got us excited, but then the summer ones came on afterwards, right? So, but this is the opposite.
Do you think the COVID has anything to do with it? Is it the way people have been feeling about China as far as being?
I think the way people have been feeling about China, the rules, also it's in Beijing. There's no snow there. It's not nobody has this image of this, this pristine mountainous, countryside. So so I think that's it. What I read, it's like 90% of all the snow is going to be man-made, right? So that's also I think a big trouble,
Yeah. Well, the buzz here, John and I talked. The buzz here for the Olympics is nil. The one thing they have going for it is on Super Bowl Sunday. Part of the pregame show for the Super Bowl, both Johns, is to show some Olympic events like ice hockey, like the men's downhill. That's going to bring ratings because people walk. It's a perfect little lead into the Super Bowl. But you shouldn't have to use that as advertising.
No, that's
NBC is not sending one correspondent over there. They're going to sit in the studio in New York and call it like they did for baseball in 2020 when COVID took precedence and people just didn't travel. So that could hurt. There's no buzz in the United States about this, and it bothers me because I'm actually a bigger Winter Olympic fan than I am a Summer Olympic fan. I love the Winter Olympics. I love everything about the Winter Olympics, and it bothers me, but I wanted to get your angle on it. So, it concerns me that Olympics have always been so big in our lives, especially our age group. We go back to the 80 Olympics.
I agree.
Miracle on Ice in my lifetime is one of the greatest Olympic events I've ever seen. And there's just we didn't carry the buzz over through the networks and through advertising and through marketing. And I think this one's going to be a dud.
Yeah, I think that they have this bubble, and it's really even hard on journalists. They can't even leave, where they're at. Even more strict than Japan was about things. But yeah, it sounds, and then just the government itself. What are they going to be looking at your phones, on your computer, all these other freedoms? So I think that's why a lot of them just don't want to go at all.
Yeah.
John, I'm going to continue on a pattern with you. We're John and I are praying, and we had their second decent day of negotiations in the baseball labor strike between the union and the owners. But how does that affect Major League Baseball players that want to come over to Japan if there's a lockout and there's a strike looming in Major League Baseball?
I think it's a big one because the Japanese, like the OTAs or the training camps are starting like in a couple of weeks here. So. Yeah. And so if nothing gets done, I think they're just going to start signing. Well, a lot of the guys are going to be with their team. They're going to be posted, which means that they're not free agents. So the Japanese organization has to negotiate with the an MLB team and then figure it out. But the one Suzuki, he's ready to go. And Hiroshima Carp said they were going to post him. But with this, I think it might get to a point. It's like, hey, we'll just do this next year. But the only thing about him is that he'll be a free agent next year. So the Carp might be more interested in getting some cash out of him than waiting another year. And then the great pitcher Yamamoto, I think he's just not. He's just going to be staying in Japan. I don't think they'll be getting him. But I think that just that delay of that negotiation, the ability for the MLB teams to negotiate with the MPB teams, is kind of, that window is closing or almost closed now.
Well, one more addendum. I know you and John are brother-in-laws. John married your beautiful sister, and it's a pleasure meeting you. But do you have any breaking news for us? I just heard, I read Variety that Godfather 4 is casting right now. They're bringing Andy Garcia to play the Godfather. But they're bringing back Tommy Hagen's son, and it's
It's the connection. He's become the concierge to the Japanese mafia. That's why I'm here.
Well, I understand you're going to be in
the Yakuza. The Yakuza segment is never.
So I saw you had something on your lip. I thought maybe your agent said, "Get that off your lip right now, man. You're going to be shooting in 3 weeks." All right. Keep your mouth shut. I don't turn around involved, so just be careful.
There he goes. All right. He is John Williams. He's not Robert Duvall Jr. He is from Japan. He's our Pacific Rim correspondent. Thanks, John Boy. We'll catch you soon.
Talk to you soon, guys. Bye.
All right. And that is the Daily Grind. Questions or comments during the live show, use the chat box here or email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right. It's time for Binge Blockbusters and Books. Fish, what are you binging?
You know what I watched? I went back to an oldie but goodie. I went back and watched Boardwalk Empire. The creators of Sopranos came up with imagine 1922 and it's Prohibition, and you got Chicago, New York, and Atlantic City all vying for illegal alcohol. And you got Lucky Luciano, New York, with Arnold Rothstein. You got Al Capone and Johnny Torrio in Chicago, and Nucky something is his name, and that's Steve Buscemi's character. If you haven't seen it, it's brilliant.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. I'd go back and watch it again too. I'm going to go with Fire in the Hole. That is the great series called Justified about U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, and he was dealing with crime in Appalachia. But now Marshal Givens, played by Timothy Olyphant, goes to Detroit for a series called City Primeval: High Noon in Detroit. Now, before it comes out, I would suggest go back and watch Justified, because many of the memorable characters we are told are going to be in that series, and that should be a good one. So I'm looking forward to that as well, Fish.
Great. I love it.
And that is Binge Blockbusters and Books. Now let's go to something fishy. What are you sniffing out there, Fish?
We watch the NFL games every week, and we just had the greatest weekend ever. And I know you have the same trepidation about this that I do, and I know Hardison would also. When you call a penalty in the NFL, You don't need to huddle for 5 minutes and go to New York over every call. I know they're under tremendous pressure. And I hate to say it, I love Jerome Boger as an official, and he lost his job because of that whistle in the Cincinnati Raiders game, which as a Raider fan, I don't give a crap. You learn when you play football, play through the whistle. And Raider fans are bitching about they blew the whistle, just stop the play. But they called a holding penalty in the Cincinnati Titan game. All right. That took 7 minutes. All right. Ian Eagles doing the game with Trent Green and go, what are they talking about? It aggravates me. And I segue into this. I want you guys out there, I want all our fans out there to think about this, because that happened to me. You go to the grocery store and you don't go through the quick stand, you have to wait in line. And the cashier at the grocery store is having a conversation with the lady above you. And they're talking about everything from PTA to traffic to COVID and whatever. That's like the NFL. Make the call, cash them out, and get them the hell out of there. Same thing at the convenience store. I went to Terrible Hearts to get gas. Lady's having a guy down there's having a conversation with his friend, and the line's 3 deep. And you want to say something, but the cash looked like it can kick my ass, so I didn't. So are these cashiers taking their cues from the NFL officials and having conversations? When you know what? Because I live in an instant gratification society, I've learned to live my life through that. That I get pissed off at NFL officials that have 7-minute conversations over a penalty, and people that are cashiers not just getting people, moving them out and getting to me so I can get the hell out of there. Is that something fishy? That makes sense to you, John?
Yeah, it does. But I think the thing that's really interesting is when you go to the store or the gas station now, you have a red flag and you throw it at them.
That'd be great. Yeah, what does that mean? Throw a red flag. They're going to think I'm a member of the Crips.
All right. And that is something fishy. All right, folks, still ahead. Our Schmuck of the Week is suing over a movie trailer, and the swag makes a great tackle the other night, and he could go down in history with the NFL's Mike Curtis. All right. Time for the Daily Fish Hardlines. Joining us now is John Hardison from the podcast The Cost of Winning, focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. All right, Hardline, let's jump into the conference championships. First, the NFC. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites at home to the 49ers. What does the Hardline say?
I want to make it clear that I told you the Bucs weren't going to go to the Super Bowl. I've been preaching it all year, and everybody thought I was crazy. And like Antonio Brown, nothing's wrong with my mental state. Everything's there. I'm going with the Rams. I think we're going to get the Super Bowl that we were supposed to get 3 years ago off that Monday night game. I like the Rams. I think this time they finally get over the 49ers. Credit to that 49er defense, credit to everything that they've been doing. But I think the Rams play and the Rams idea this weekend is going to be make Jimmy Garoppolo beat us. If we lose off of Jimmy Garoppolo making some amazing throws, we'll take that. But I don't think that – I think if they can get Jimmy Garoppolo to throw over 20 yards per game or over 20 yards, I think they beat him.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
I can't believe the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite over the Bengals. The Bengals seem to keep it close. You saw what I picked earlier. What do you think?
You know what? To me, this is going to be the best game of the weekend. This is going to be the biggest shootout game, I believe, of the weekend, just with all the different offensive weapons that they have. I'm taking Kansas City to win just purely based off of experience. But I don't think the Bengals are going to go down just very easily. I think this is going to be a back-and-forth case. Definitely watch the matchup to see who's going to take Jamar Chase or who's going to take T. Higgins. I think that's going to be the biggest question this weekend to see. I would take Kansas City +7. I think they're just good enough to get that done. But I would not be surprised if this over-under on this game came close to last weekend.
Well, both Johns, what concerns me the most is that the Titans sacked Joe Burrow 9 times. And the Chiefs are one of the top teams in sacks in the NFL. If they get 9 sacks against Burrow, it's going to be a blowout. Sorry.
I don't think there's going to be the 9 sacks that we saw. I think that was just an anomaly that just happened on that day. One question that I've had for Kansas City, and it's made me a little question last week watching Josh Allen, was their lack of pressure on the outside of getting to Josh Allen. He ran that quarterback option so many times, that read option, and was able to take off on them. And at no point did they really step up and get really much of a pressure on him to get him that sack. And if they don't do that against Burrow, I mean, you give him all the time, you let him build up that confidence. That's what you don't want if you're Kansas City. You don't want that confidence. You have to, if you're Pat Mahomes, in the words of Andy Reid, you got to be the Grim Reaper, but you got to be the Grim Reaper from the beginning. You can't wait till the end to go out there and reap. You got to reap from the start.
Can you believe that? Before we get to college hoops, John, go take it away. I still can't get over those 13 seconds and how Buffalo coached in that 13 seconds. I just can't get that out of my mind. So when you get mad at the Lions and John can get mad at the Giants and I get mad at the Raiders, that was the biggest snafu I've seen all season. How you coached in that 13 seconds, Hardison.
You know what? I thought they were going to squib kick it. I thought the smart play would be to squib kick it, take at least about 4 seconds off the clock, and see what he can make off of that. But I do understand the backside of it, which is make him start deep, see what they can do. I do question in that time frame, did they know how many timeouts Kansas City had, or did somebody give somebody maybe the wrong information? Because knowing that Kansas City had 3 timeouts, there's no reason why you wouldn't squib kick it unless somebody told you something else, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Hey, only 2 games left, obviously. So would you recommend people to go do a parlay? Do you agree? What would you have them take a look at on a parlay bet for the football games?
If they were going to go ahead and do it, I would take depending on your book that you have, I definitely would take Rams money line. I would take Kansas City money line. The question I have is, are they going to have any prop bets up right now? I would probably take the prop bet if they did have it, that Matthew Stafford probably throws a pick 6 this game. It's just been, and look, I love Matthew Stafford. I think that he's been playing very well, and give credit where credit's due. I'm a Lions fan, and I've said this for a long time. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. He just plays for a terrible organization. And the fact that he's beat the defending Super Bowl champion, and he beat Tom Brady at Tom Brady's home, and he beat Kyler Murray at home, should tell you a little bit about him. But I just think looking at this game last week, he got away with that ball sailing over his head, which could have been a big momentum change, in that game. But I do think that it's playing the law of averages. He's probably going to throw a pick 6 this game, and I would take that. I would probably take that as a parlay through those 3 as a parlay.
We're happy to have you as a team member at Daily Fish. You've added so much to our show, but you really get to shine in 3 weeks from now when football's over, because we're going to focus on college basketball and pro basketball. And I want to give me advice and John advice on. I love betting the over and unders, like when Golden State plays, and college games too. So when you bet, because in the Cost of Winning podcast, do you tell your listeners and your viewers, bet the over and unders or the money line, look at the points? How do you approach hoops?
So college and pros are a little bit different. In college, you look at who they're playing that game. You look to see who's actually going to, who's not injured. Kind of what's the matchup in that, in terms of, like, you can almost guarantee Gonzaga's going to blow out everyone in their conference because they don't really play in a very strong conference, right? But there's other teams that can be very sneaky, like one team that I really, really like right now. And congratulations to Chris Beard, 2 years removed from the NCAA championship. It's Texas. Your alma mater, Fish. Texas is playing very well. They're coming on. They've got a tremendous coach right now. That's a team to definitely watch out for. Also, Houston. Houston's playing very well right now.
Oh, yeah.
With Calvin Sampson, UCLA, that you have those guys. Especially the biggest thing with college hoops, especially from the beginning of the year, and this is to keep in mind, there's a lot of teams, probably about 3 or 4 teams that are always unranked. And for some reason, I don't understand how they're unranked, but they always end up landing in the top 15. And the best example of that would be Michigan State. The last 2 years, they've been unranked. And then right now, they're sitting in the top 15 spot. So what pros, the biggest thing about pros is you want to watch that injury report. Definitely see the injury report, definitely see who's going. And look at a little bit of the past games that they've played as well. Just because they're the Lakers doesn't mean that the Lakers are playing like Showtime Lakers, right? Like, you might be able to squeak something out for somebody else. Or Golden State might just have an off night, and you look at that matchup, like Indiana. A lot of people didn't take Indiana. I took Indiana that night to beat them, and they pulled it out.
Wow. Very nice. All right. There you have it. And that is the Daily Fish Hardline with John Hardison, the Cost of Winning podcast that he has. You can find him here each week, or you can find him on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Hardline, thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Thanks, John.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Daily Fish is live on Facebook Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific at daily.fish.5. You can see us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and also the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. We are on DBNA Television on Roku and Amazon Fire, along with DBA Television website. Follow us and like us and subscribe to us, the Daily Fish Podcast, on YouTube. All right, now it is time for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish?
Let me show you this beauty. And she's not a schmuck. Let me precursor. This is Ana de Armas, this gorgeous actress who you saw her in No Time to Die, the recent Bond film. She was the lead in War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill. Let me tell you the great thing about this. Two fans of Ana de Armas are suing Paramount because during the 2019 film yesterday, the star was out of the final release. She was cut from the but they used her in the trailer of the film. So these two kids, okay, Connor Wolf and Peter Rosa, filed a class action suit in the United States District Court of Central California. I'm sorry, against Universal Studios, John. They spent $3.99 to rent the movie on Amazon Prime and were upset to discover the actress's part had been cut out of the movie. She's not the schmuck. You know, look at her. She's a tremendous actress and with a huge future. What happens, I asked you, John, if they win this lawsuit? Because she was obviously in the trailer for yesterday and cut from the film. If these two kids win this lawsuit, you know what's going to happen? Tell them.
Everybody's going to be cut from the trailers. Yeah, they're going to have to check that out. Although I understand where I don't understand the whole lawsuit, but I can understand them complaining about it. But hey, when we have Heidi on Hollywood on the show, she'll be able to explain that even better too. No doubt about that. All right, Absolutely. Let's see who has got the swag now, Fish. Who we toasting?
I love this. Oh, yeah, check out this video, everybody. Dan Jansen, if you're ever on the ice and someone comes at you, you want this to happen.
Fish, was that you?
See this guy? He's throwing stuff. Actually, his actions afterwards, that guy didn't know where he was. He was on clouds. But talk about the tackle by Stephon Diggs. He knocked this guy right out. I mean, that's tremendous. And how did the guy get that close to the players? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, you got to ask that question. But one of the fascinating things, I was watching the game, and the network allowed that on for maybe about a flash of about 2 seconds, and I see someone's feet going up in the air and being tackled. I'm going like, the play hasn't even started. I go, oh, now I know what it was. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, I saw that. That was
right, because Tony Romo goes, oh, there's a guy. He starts laughing. Oh, they took care of it, and then but then we got to see what actually happened. Stephon Diggs laid him out. Very similar. Go on YouTube, everyone that carries our show, and type in Mike Curtis, Baltimore Colts tackles. The same thing. It's the same hit. Comes around, gives him a blind side, and the guy goes right down. And if Dan Jansen's on the ice doing this thing, and some guy comes across, you want a football player to come over and knock his ass off. You do, because it can't happen. So I tip my glass to Stephon Diggs and I guarantee you the security in Kansas City is going to get an ass ripping for that one. You can't get that close to the players. You can't.
Absolutely. So what are we sipping here? We're sipping here.
Well, in honor of Dan Jansen, who gold medalist, 1994 Olympics, this is a Long Island iced tea. Okay, take all your white liquors. You got the white, you get the rum, you got the gin, you got the vodka. You're going to throw some sweet and sour mix, splash of 7-Up, give them the rest with Coca-Cola, and put a little dash of triple sec. Very popular drink forever in the United States. Long Island iced for Jansen tea.
And drink it slow. So toast to Dan and a toast to also Diggs, and then also to Mike Curtis. Mike Curtis died less than a year ago, so want to remember him as well. Very good. And drink those slow because those can be very lethal when you're drinking. All right. Our drink of the week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. All right, we're just getting started. Up next, we're going to gab with gold medal speed skater Dan Jansen. But first, let's tell you about MedSonics. Heading to Las Vegas also, first place to stop is MedSonics. The sound wave technology relieves pain, inflammation, and even jet lag. It's non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes, you relax. The technology will soon be all over the country. Go to medsonics.com. It's medsonix.com. Al is the owner inventor. Tell him Daily Fish sent you. All right, let's bring on our special guest, Dan Jansen. He is a gold medal speed skating champ. He is in the Hall of Fame. After all, he broke 8 speed skating world records. Plus, he's also got a great foundation that helps kids with cancer and others going to college. Dan, welcome to Daily Fish.
Thank you. Good to see you guys. Good
It's
to
great
be
to
here.
have you on here. Hey, we just talked with John Williams over in Japan, and we don't know, are people going to be excited about the Olympics? Do you have any advice for folks watching the Olympics?
You know, I think my advice is I've been thinking about it a bit lately because of the whole situation, because of COVID, because of what's going on. I think that if you're a fan, hopefully of the U.S. and the Olympics, I don't care who you're a fan of, but the Olympics, you got to watch sort of like last year's NFL season was, or any of the other pro seasons with nobody in the stands, right? It's just, I feel bad for the athletes, worse for them. And then, but having said that, to them, it is still the Olympic Games. They've been working their butts off for 4 years to get ready for this. The nerves are still going to be there. I think that it'll lack a little bit of the excitement that comes to the athletes through the crowd, that electricity, but it's still the games. You win and you're an Olympic gold medalist. So yeah, don't forget that.
We had the Tokyo Olympics on this past summer, and one of the problems that a lot of Olympic athletes had, and you got a chance to experience this, is the fun of the Olympic Village and all the frolicking that goes on, and all the who knows what happens, and there's a lot of partying and what have you. You lost that in the Tokyo Olympics, and you're definitely going to lose that in Beijing. How important was that to you? Did you have a lot of good fun time maybe after your event? I know you were so focused on your event, but talk about what the Olympic Village is like and all the interaction with all the athletes.
Yeah, so it really is a special place, and not necessarily for all the reasons that are put in the papers every year. But the camaraderie, the meeting athletes from other countries, all the fun stuff. Yeah, that does happen, but it is after. See, that's the problem. So you always wanted to be, because they're kind of split up into two different weeks. If you compete in the first week, it's great because then you're done. Then you kind of let loose. If you're in the second week, it's miserable because you're still nervous, you're anxious, and then people are not shutting up. They're keeping you awake at night. So it's you always want to compete in the first week if possible.
Do you foresee a lot of the athletes who complete first just leaving right away?
Some do, but I'll tell you, most of the athletes, at least if it's their, if they're not, I don't know how to say it, if they're not professional athletes, if like the Olympics is the top thing, in which it should be, right, for them, they stick around because they want to experience not only the rest of the games, they get to go to see all these events and cheer on their teammates, but closing ceremony is a great experience as well. So it's really nice if you can stick around. Yeah, I was always kind of bummed out when I heard people would leave and they just go back to their whatever they're going to do. But because the Olympics for me have been, it's a lifelong thing for me. I started dreaming about them when I was a kid, and it became a reality for me.
Lilyhammer, which is one of Netflix's most watched shows, which is Stephen Van Zandt, the character from The Sopranos, and he goes into witness protection in Lilyhammer, and it's a wonderful show. And there's references to you, Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding, but a lot of references to Lilyhammer, and it really brought back a lot of memories for a lot of people because it's such a compelling Olympics. What's your besides competing? Did you get involved in that Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding situation, or were you so focused on your event that you didn't give a shit?
So, I can't say involved, but it was impossible to not run across it in some fashion. So, for example, I'll give you two examples. Number one was since the media cannot get into the village, they are always just waiting outside, or maybe at the ice rink or whatever. But there were hundreds, if not thousands, would be right outside the village as well, just to get a shot of them two coming out of the village to get in their car and go to the ice rink. So that was different, just seeing all these media in places you never saw them. The other strange experience, and I knew both of them. I knew Nancy quite a bit better than Tanya, but just I was in the cafeteria one day and have lunch. I think was starting to walk back to the room, to the dorms. Nancy was kind of on my schedule. She had lunch. She's walking back, but I'd left early. I see I'm going that way, and then Tanya's coming back to the cafeteria. I knew they were about there's no other way to get from one place to another. They were gonna have to cross paths. So I don't know what happened, but it had to happen. So I thought about that.
Dan, one of the interesting stories that you and I were talking, and everybody knows the enormous grief you went through when your sister Jane died from cancer during '88.
Mm-hmm.
Then you came back, and in Lillehammer, you had really one of the greatest triumphs in 1994. And it was certainly a monumental moment for you and also for a lot of Americans watching it. But you told me, and if you can recount this, that really the Kerrigan-Harding confrontation took a lot of pressure off you that year.
Yeah, in a strange way, it sort of did, because as you said, my story, okay, it really began in '84, but I was just a kid happy to be there. So nobody knew or ever heard of me, even though I got fourth. But '88 is when people heard my name for whatever reasons, but mostly because, as you said, my sister passed on that morning, and then I fell, and so begins the saga of Dan Jansen, right? And go through '92 and it doesn't happen, and then get to '94, and so when that happened with those two, because I was probably going to be the biggest story going into that games because of what I'd been through, and now I'm coming in as a favorite again. Of course, there's my teammate Bonnie Blair as well, but Bonnie always wins, so Bonnie was going to win, right? Then this happens with Nancy and Tanya, and in a strange sort of way, I just described it. Now the media is in all these places, but not necessarily for me. And it's not like I was ignored, but I was kind of a side story, and it was just fine with me. It really was. I had no problem with that at all.
You're not a side story, because I was telling earlier in the show that I'm a big Winter Olympics fan. And 1980 Winter Olympics, the hockey thing, still in my mind, it's so uplifting. And so are you, for another reason. Okay, first of all, you have '94. What happens in '94? The whole thing with Kerrigan. We know your story in Harding. OJ is running down the 405, and so you're that breath of fresh air. Talk to me when you win the 1,000 meters, right? You win the gold medal. You come back to the States. Tell me about this. Did you do a celebrity tour? Did you go on the late night shows? And did you get a chance? I believe President Bush was the president at the time, senior. Did you get a chance to go to the White House?
So you know what? It was actually Clinton was in the White House at that point. But all right. So So actually, at the reason I remember that more vividly is because after I won, so then you going through doping control and on all that, and then you go to the press conference. I'm in the middle of my press conference, and I got a call, and they said it's the president. So I talked to Bill like 20 minutes, not even 15 minutes later. I'm still in the press conference, and it was Hillary on the phone. I don't know what you want to make of that, but they called. And so, but to answer your question, so yeah, it's funny because after the games, it was a strange schedule that year. We had all the World Cups led up to the games, and then it was like 3 weeks after the Olympics was the final World Cup, and really nothing in between. So I actually went home, I came back to the States, that's when I did all this stuff, like Letterman, all the, all the morning shows, all the evening shows, the, parade back home, all that stuff. Literally did not set foot on the ice. And then I went back to the Netherlands just to finish the final World Cup, because I was leading this overall into both 500 and 1,000. And by a long shot, all I really needed to do was show up. And so without setting foot on the ice, I got there Wednesday, skated Thursday, Friday, and then raced Saturday, Sunday. It was, I was able to win anyway. But yeah, it was a crazy those few weeks. But then again, when I really came home, and yes, the White House, all of that, it's all part of it. Amazing, amazing times, amazing memories. And it's so interesting because, and this is just out of the blue, but I literally, a friend of mine has a daughter. She's a 5th grade teacher. Literally this afternoon asked me if I could talk to their class because the Olympics are coming up. So I did. And one of the students asked me the same thing. And that was the funniest part. I said, yeah, because she was like, well, what was it like to be so famous and this and that? But my example was, I go, yeah, I came home and then I was on Letterman and Leno and all, and I'm going, wait a minute, they have no idea who these people are. Letterman, like, they're off TV now. I would have to been, I don't know, Jimmy Kimmel or something. But it just brought that memory back today.
Two questions for Annette. Did Hillary flirt with you, number one? And number two,
No.
Okay, good. Did they feed you? Because I don't want to bring up any presidents, but recent White House visits by celebrity athletes, you get McDonald's or Burger King. Did they feed you better than that? You remember?
Don't remember at all. No memory of, but it was neither of those, I can guarantee.
Okay, good. You're royalty, and you deserve better than a Big Mac.
No, thank you.
No, look, McDonald's could be a sponsor of the show one day. We love it, but you deserve better, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Hey Dan, let's talk a little bit about the U.S. speed skating. It looks like they're going to be really competitive this year. Can you point out a couple of the folks that we should be watching?
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting right now. We've got on the long track side, which for those viewers who don't know, there's long track and short track, and I was long track, which is a 400-meter oval, and it's against the clock, right? And so we've got here, I'm going to give you 4 names, and you're going to freak out to where 3 of them are from. 2 women, Erin Jackson and Brittany Bowe. Erin is, I believe, the first African-American woman to win a World Cup. She's won a couple early this season. She's 500 meters only. She's just nothing but sprint. Brittany Bowe is 1,000, 1,500 meters. And Brittany's been around for a long time, but she's, I just really hope good things for her. She actually won a medal in the team pursuit 4 years ago, but could have won individually. She had a concussion and just was bad timing. Joey Mantilla on the men's side, 1,500 and mass start are his events, and he's a beast. Watch for him. And then there's this literally 17-year-old Jordan Stoltz from Wisconsin. He's a phenom. This kid, he came up really quickly, and this year all of a sudden started doing things that we thought might happen, but not so fast. Maybe 2 years from now, and now he's doing it now. He is a serious contender in the 1,000 meters for sure, and 500. But more so the 1,000. But the interesting part about these, Erin Jackson, Brittany Bowe, and Joey Mantilla, who I mentioned, all 3 of those skaters, their hometown, Ocala, Florida.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
How much ice is down there?
Yeah. So here's the reason. So there's a very good inline skating program down there. The inline skaters have no Olympics to go to. It's not an Olympic sport in the summer games. And so if they want to go to the Olympics, they switch to the ice. All 3 of these have, and they've had great success. It takes a while because the ice is much more technical. Inline is really all done in a pack, so you can get some rest while you're skating. You can, and as long as you can sprint at the end. Long track, it's all you out there, you against the clock. So it takes a while to perfect technique, but all three of these have, and they're contenders. So it's going to be fun games to watch.
Yeah. Of course, you competed 28 years ago, 1994. And recently, we've had a kid, I think his name was Apollo. I know, look, John and I are still 20 years older than you are.
Yeah.
But, I know you followed the career of Apollo Ono, and the guy is, has a guy like him ever come to you for coaching advice because you're such an inspiration? Or have you, as the Olympic Committee, have they had you give advice to young guys like that who's been terrific in the sport?
So yeah, I mean, not specifically Apollo, although I know Apollo quite well, and but he was short track, I was long track, but many other skaters, whether it's U.S. Speed Skating asking us to come and talk with them, but even more, I guess, deeper than that, I kind of mentored probably 4 to 5 of our top skaters throughout the last 12 years, maybe 3 Olympic cycles. And it's been fun. It's just, it's not a sport that, I should say it is a sport that, we, not me personally, but, probably you guys are only going to talk about every 4 years. Right. And so, and nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying, it's just the way it is. And so if there's something that the veterans can do to help the younger skaters, because none of us have. If you're getting into this sport to make a living, you're not very smart, right? You get into this sport and then you become addicted to it to get better and to always go faster and find ways to make yourself better, and maybe for the dream of one day representing your country. And if you can do that, it's an honor, and then you go out and you do your best you can, and look, I took a lot of both sides of it. I took a lot of the heat because I didn't win when I was supposed to several times, and then when I won on my last chance, became a hero, and I'm like, how does that work? I'm the same guy. I tried just as hard every time I was out there. So it's an interesting world. All sports, not just my story, but just the way it is. And you kind of accept that, and that's it's just part of it.
Dan, is there any trash talking going on? Was there any guys that your coach said, do you watch out for this guy from Hungary or Russia because he's dirty? And you see it in the movies, but was there any guys that got on there and said, I'm going to kick your ass, Jansen, I'm going to trip you? I mean, you have to mention names, but the trash talking going on, did it go on?
So it's a fair question. The answer in but I'll tell you. So in long track, 0, especially in my career, because you're in your own lane. You can't touch the other. You can't even, he's in his lane, you're in yours, and you're against the clock. Doesn't mean there weren't rivalries, and strangely enough, more so, I know more so in the women's than the men's in terms of not liking so-and-so. But some of my best friends are still to this day guys I skated against from East Germany. My Russian friend unfortunately passed away during COVID, and but talking about Apollo in short track, much more so, yes, because that is so much. There's so much strategy involved in how you skate the race against a specific person. So yeah, I mean, if you remember back in Salt Lake City, 2002, there was there is a crash in almost every short track race, right? They always fall at the end. But yeah, Apollo, the Australian kid ended up winning, who was a half lap behind. But the Koreans thought that Apollo should be disqualified. Apollo was hated in Korea, hated. And certainly wasn't fair to him, right? But yeah, so that sport's a little bit different.
Wow. Hey, so we got about 5 minutes left here, Dan. Great stuff. You are an inspiration. You're also very humble, which is great, and I appreciate the times that I've had to be with you, especially at your golf tournament. Talk about, when after you lost your sister Jane to cancer, it inspired you to create your foundation. Talk about the DJ Foundation and all that you're doing.
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's been a long road, but super rewarding. We started the foundation. Well, literally the idea started before I retired, but I just said one day, I want to do something to give back when I'm retired. And so when I did, I started the foundation, and it's changed direction along the way. I'll tell you, it started out, when you don't know where the money should go, we thought, well, research and all this. When we did that, we weren't seeing where anything was going really. So we changed direction in a little bit. We have several different avenues where our funds go, from helping young skaters to scholarships. But our main fund right now is called the Family Aid Fund. And well, the Dan Jansen Foundation is oversees everything. But our Family Aid Fund was created out of really my personal experience. So when Jane, my sister, was diagnosed with leukemia, she had to have her bone marrow transplant out in Seattle, and we're from Wisconsin, and I'm the youngest of 9 kids, and so my mom and dad were out there for the better part of a year. The rest of us are going back and forth to be with her when we can. I'm in the meantime training for an upcoming Olympics, and I saw what it does to the families in terms of non-medical expenses, and so we that's kind of the direction we went. And now we help families with their non-medical expenses. We help them with travel, with room and board, with we literally almost daily, but certainly many, many times a week, requests come across my desk. My son or daughter is being treated for this type of cancer, and one of us had to quit our jobs, and they're going to turn off our power if we don't pay this bill. And so we work with the social workers at the hospitals. They send us these requests, and luckily we've look, we're not giving thousands and thousands of dollars out to each family. Each one, we have a limit, but I can tell you we've given out over $1 million now and helped over 1,000 families, and it's been hugely rewarding, and it makes me proud that Jane, because of her, this sort of happened, and it's still going on.
Well, I've seen you working it, Dan. So tell everybody about the Dan Jansen Celebrity Classic. It's in the Charlotte area. I was fortunate enough you had me out there, and you mentioned Bonnie Blair. Bonnie Blair sometimes comes playing it. Tell me about the tournament that's coming up, because I think you're going to have it at the end of the year this year.
So yeah, it's always about the first weekend in October. We do it here in Mooresville, in North Carolina, and a bunch of my celebrity friends from over the years come into play, and yeah, you were nice enough to come and look. I mean, I've been really fortunate over the years to meet some big names, from Mario Lemieux, Mike Ruzioni, you name it, NFL Hall of Famers, and they come in and support me and my cause. And we have lately we've got this amazing concert we do before it. We've had the guys from Rascal Flatts, Chicago, drummer from Journey. So these guys come and play the night before, and then we just have a great weekend. In fact, the concert, since they put on such a great show, has become a bigger show than the golf tournament itself, but it doesn't bother me, right? I mean, so but the trouble is trying to top it every year, which is tough, because we have a good time. It's a lot of hard work, but it's been really worth it, and super thankful for all the support.
Well, it is a great time. It's a great event. You put on a good one, and all the other stuff you do, Dan. It's just you're an inspiration to many people. So we've been talking to speed skating legend Dan Jansen. For more information on all Dan is doing, go to his website. It's djfoundation.org. Now, Dan, are you also doing this with the cool kids?
Yes, yeah. I also we for this event we split it, and I've partnered up with called Cool Kids Campaign, and the great part about it is, as I described for my foundation, we kind of take care of the families. Cool Kids is all about the kids, and they try to better the lives of kids with cancer. And so we've partnered up, and it's really become a nice event.
All right. And folks, you can check out coolkidscampaign.org.
Yes.
And just as Dan said, they work with them. It's two great organizations, and I would definitely go take a look at it. Hey, Dan, enjoy the Olympics. Hopefully we'll talk to you afterwards.
Great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. All right. Hey, coming up, Fish and I are going to wrap things up and give you a sneak peek at next week. But first, you need a great golf getaway? The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or just a bunch of friends that are wacky and crazy like Fish. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. You can play there just about year round. All right, Fish, next week, comedian and singer Gary Mulder will be with us. And then in 2 weeks, football great Ricky Williams. How about that? That's pretty good for 40 shows, huh?
Oh, gosh, yeah. They get better. It's getting more fun all the time. This guy, Kathy Ballard, Kenosha, Wisconsin, said he looks like actor William Sadler, a younger, William Sadler. Go look at, if you knew who William Sadler was, I don't have a picture of him, but he was in Die Hard too, and what have you. And just so that's great that we're doing celebrity lookalikes. Terrific story, great guy, great disposition. You feel bad for him, but hey, imagine your last event, you win the Olympics. How cool is that?
Yeah, he is always in Dan's disposition and the way he does things. It's exactly that. I mean, he's just Dan Jansen, and he's just the sweetest, nicest guy to be around. He's funny. He takes in everybody, and when he does this golf event, it's so much fun. And so I knew he was going to be a great guest for us, and this is perfect timing right before the Olympics too.
Sounds like you, great guy. Takes everyone in. You got. He said, "Look, go in John's other room. There's 40 people right now waiting for a handout." So, hey, John, I'm excited about what we're going to start doing Sundays. We're going to do a daily brunch. We're going to have a Bloody Mary because now football's coming in, and we're going to give a 10-minute tease. But what we're going to do, and we're also going to talk about all the great sports that are on. This Sunday, we got the two great championship games, but there's also golf. There's also college basketball, great NBA, and great NHL hockey games. So come up with Bloody Mary have a daily brunch with us around. It'll be 9 o'clock on the west, 12 noon on the east, and we'll toast you and we'll talk about the great Sunday sports and what's going on for our show on Tuesday.
Well, and we're looking forward to that. We can also talk a little baseball. We're going to do that, but really, one of the things I know we're going to touch on in weeks ahead is the USFL coming up, and just seeing what that new old experiment is going to be like once we get into the season, and then again. I do think baseball will find a way to get it done and not have a walkout. Spring training may get wiped out a little bit, but I think they're going to have it. So I'm curious to see how the USFL is going to handle that and how baseball's going to handle it.
USFL is going to play for 8 weeks, and every game is going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. Even though teams have the New Jersey Generals, you have New Jersey on it. It's very, very cost effective to put everyone in Birmingham, and they're sold out. You're going to see, and it's going to be got good coach. You got Kevin Sumlin coaching in this league. You got some good coaches. Kirby Wilson, ex-Raider running back coach, is coaching. So it's going to be great. But what a baseball stoppage means, it means more viewership for the NBA and NHL, and those leagues end in June. So baseball can't do this. And A-Rod said it was at the Green Bay game with the new starlet, gorgeous girl. And he said, baseball's not that stupid. And I work for Fox. He goes, maybe I know something, but both sides are not that stupid this time. So I don't care what you think about A-Rod. I think he knows what he's talking about on that one.
Yep. So, I would agree with you on that. And I keep going back to the summer of 1994 when we didn't have baseball. I don't remember being upset. I was like, and I'm a baseball fan, but it was like, okay, you guys are going to go on strike, do your thing, forget. I think people are going to be like that. So it'll be
worse. If they go on strike and they miss a season, it'll be worse now because people don't give a crap. They have their phones and it wasn't Netflix and everything going on right now. So as far as other things to keep your attention away from sports. And again, we're in a society now. We don't need millionaires and billionaires arguing over money. It just doesn't. That's not going to happen. There'll be hey, take it from Daily Fish. John's gonna take us out. There'll be baseball in 2022. Might be the Japanese league, but there'll be baseball.
That's right. And just keep watching us because we'll have all the info for you. Okay, remember, Daily Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Catch us on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can also catch us on YouTube as well. Send us an email at dailyfish1@gmail.com. Fish, great show, buddy. See you next week.
Love you.